All right, welcome to Dual Redundancy, the only podcast where you can hear all latest in television and entertainment news with too many hosts with exactly the same opinions. I'm one of those hosts, David Allen, and another one is
John Berwick, and a third one is
Kyle Bridger. I would say that I am the John Oliver to Jon Stewart. I just kept going with the John. And Dave, I'll give you Trevor Noah. We're all in the same family.
I was so worried that I was going to be the James Corden. Let's get loud. Let's get it loud. No, we're not doing that. No. Yeah, we're staying with the Daily Show family here because we're talking about Jon Stewart's brand new show that's on Apple TV Plus. It's another week where it's Apple TV Plus and Netflix because we're talking about Squid Game, the show everyone's talking about.
Yep.
We had to talk about it. It's a cultural phenomenon at this point. So we're going to break down those two new shows and a lot of other things in between. But this first segment, just what is it, John?
In and Out Points.
In or the out. In or the out. In, out.
Yes, it is in and out points. And this week, kind of all of our stories deal with streaming services. A lot of more like the commercial side of things. Last week, YouTube TV subscribers almost lost a bunch of channels on their service, all of which were in the NBCUniversal family. This would have included shows or networks like Bravo, E, Oxygen, CNBC, Sci-Fi, your various NBC sports channels, and your local NBC. Kyle, we are YouTube TV households. Were you worried about this loss of NBC Universal?
I mean, the only thing that would have been frustrating is the NBCSN because I watched some sports on there, but the rest of them I don't really frequent that often. I mean, it would have stunk to lose NBC because sometimes I do watch some of their content. But this just, I mean, over the dispute that was happening, it just seems silly. It just seems silly to me. And quite frustrating, honestly. I mean, is this going to be a tactic that some of these companies are going to use moving forward with other people? So it's like you either get the streaming service or bust. I don't understand here, but it's shady. I don't like it. And with the way that the internet is and how, people are trying to cut the cord, these companies are trying to, reap back the benefits any way they can. The time of peak TV and getting it for the cheap is no longer here.
Yeah, and I feel like this has been happening more and more frequently, just with different, whether it's like, oh, Dish Network's going to be losing AMC networks, or like Fox, the Fox network channels, including the classic network, was going to be moved from I can't remember the service, but every so often one of these networks is being lost and in a dispute with another company. And well, this time around, YouTube TV actually kind of was trying to play the nicer person, I guess, in this. At least that's the way they were trying to paint it. They were seemingly offering a consolation prize if it did end up happening. The monthly price of the service that offers the 85 networks that YouTube TV does would drop from $64.99 to $54.99. So it drops $10. And they even said in the email, you could take this extra money to sign up for Peacock Premium starting at $4.99 a month. And it's like, oh, I see what you're doing here because at the end of the day, YouTube TV does not want to lose any subscribers.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, wait, hang on. You'll still get NBC. You can use this money over here to buy your NBC. Don't worry. Stay with us.
Yeah.
But here's the plan.
Yeah, but here's the thing with the YouTube TV, and I've read articles about this, and basically, if YouTube TV and Google, the parent company or whatever, had their way, they don't want the price raised, right? They don't want to have to show you, because now YouTube TV is basically pseudo cable. I mean, there's that many channels, right? But they're forced to have these channels because the carrier says, if you don't do it, we're not gonna allow you to stream. So then it forces YouTube TV to hike their prices again and again. And I honestly don't think they want to do that because it's not beneficial to them. Because again, a lot of the consumers wanted fewer channels to begin with. That's why they cut the cord in the first place.
I signed up years ago to YouTube TV for $35 a month based on whatever 20, 30 channels that they have. This is all I need. This is all I want.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, don't worry. We're going to give you Viacom CBS channels. I'm like, okay, I didn't really. Oh, we're going to give you Discovery channels. I'm okay. I don't need these. Like, but we're going to raise it up. And it's like, guys, what are you doing? And I think it's one of those things now. It's like, oh, well, you want this channel? Well, you're going to have to take all these other ones too. And it's just.
So I do like that the carrot that they gave you, because if they are losing like that many channels, we shouldn't be having to pay, that exorbitant price. And I guess, but I just don't like how NBC is angling this. And if I had to look at it from NBC's perspective, if I'm looking at it, tells me that they think Peacock is not doing that well.
Yeah, because you're alluding to something here where there's some reports, including in Deadline, that YouTube TV says NBC tried to get YouTube TV to bundle Peacock into its interface. That's what the dispute was going for here. It's like, oh, you want NBC? Well, you got to take Peacock too. You got to pay for this. You got to get this into your system. But the tech giant said, no, we're not doing that. And they said it mostly for two reasons. One, the user experience would be more cumbersome when viewers must download a separate app with some overlapping content. And then while the basic tier is free, the premium levels require a separate subscription fee. So to them, they're like, so we're going to have our customers pay extra for the same content and then to also get another app. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Because there's so much overlapping content on Peacock between the three tiers. Oh, it's already free on NBC. Now we're going to make them pay again for the same stuff.
Yeah.
It's just to boost up those Peacock subscriber numbers.
Yep, exactly.
And enforce it onto the YouTube TV folk. And it's just, guys, we Kyle's corner. We said it's not working.
Yeah, no, it's frustrating. I'm just worried that, other companies are going to start doing this kind of thing in the future. And then we have streaming service wars, which we kind of already do, where it's like, oh, you get so-and-so, this and this. And it's like the viewership becomes even more fractured. So it's like, oh, you have the Netflix family or the Disney family or this or that. Because people, there's only so much money to go around. What was the first thing that people would do when it comes to cable? Was they'd cut HBO, right? Because it's a premium service. So now all of these are technically premium services. Because if you add the internet on top of it, it's not, the cost it's not cost effective anymore.
Yeah, you're spending more than you did when you had cable to get all these separate ones and then to get high speed internet. Yeah, I really do wish, I hope someday YouTube TV, if they're going to continue down this road of getting more and more and more channels, give us tiers. I mean, sure, it would go back to the cable side of things, but it's like, no, I only need these right here. $35. Oh, you want to get these extra channels? That's $50. You want the whole package? That's $65. It's like, okay, because then I can at least choose and have the choice. But right now, there's no choice.
But if I remember correctly, PlayStation, when they had PlayStation View, they did have tiers. So yeah, I don't know if it's something with the carriers or what it is, but yeah, that would be much, much better.
Well, crisis averted, a deal has been reached, and the price will remain the same for now. This is what I say, because I feel like right now it's fine, but then in a couple months, the price will go up, and it'll probably be like, oh, this is to pay off this little increase that we got way back here. But There's no Peacock being forced on anyone. No one has to worry about that yet.
Mhm.
But NBC Universal channels will still be on YouTube TV as of now.
How much is it to get Hulu Live TV or whatever, right?
I don't know. It's at least over 50. I'm gonna see if I can do a quick Google search here for the prices. No, they're making it hard here. They
It's
got
all-
bundles, they got tiers.
It's all good. I was
Yeah.
just curious
Oh,
for
it looks
our
like
own
70
benefit.
well,
We can do
this-
this after the
Yeah.
podcast.
I
I'm like,
think-
hey, how much is it gonna cost us?
At least the only number I'm seeing $65 a month for Hulu, which I think is the same
Yep.
right now for YouTube TV. You can bundle in Disney Plus and ESPN Plus into that Hulu thing for $72.99. So
Okay.
less than, I don't know, what is that? Less than $10 for $8 here. You can get in.
Get Disney, ESPN, and what's the other one?
Well, it's Hulu. So you
Hulu.
get-
Yeah, that's right. All right. Well, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, so we mentioned Disney Plus. That actually leads into our next in and out point here. Disney Plus, which came out around the same time as Peacock, has kept one price and tier for its service, but that may change. During a conference call with investors, Disney CEO Bob Chapek hinted at possibly adding in advertising on the currently ad-free Disney Plus. I'll read off this kind of statement here that he said in this call. Quote, and for example, Disney Plus has a lot of kids that watch it, and the taste for us to consider advertising on something like Disney Plus would be completely different than it might be on Hulu. So then again, you take
Why?
the-
Because it's kids? What the hell does that even mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. So then again, you take the individual, no one size fits all type approach that we are looking at across the world. And you say, where do we have that opportunity? Where do we not have that opportunity? And then how does that change over time as we look at combining things or keeping things separate a la carte? And so all of this is malleable. Again, it's soft clay right now. And we are very pleased with what we're seeing with addressing advertising on Hulu. So I don't like where this sounds. It's malleable. It's clay. Things
Yeah.
can change. I don't want it to change. Keep it the same. Don't give me those Hulu ads, because those Hulu ads are the most annoying ads in all of streaming. Not only are they super loud, but it's the same like 5 ads every break, every single time. That's the reason we added in that quick check joke on the podcast, because I would be watching Handmaid's Tale and all of a sudden, quick check summer. There you go.
Wait, so okay, so I use a non-ad
Yes.
Hulu. Do they now have, because I'm seeing the screenshot, do they now have like an ad when you pause it?
On a lot of them, they do. I think we talked about it way back when that they were possibly introducing this. Any spot that they can put in an ad, they're gonna
Dude,
put in a
this is
billboard here.
insane. And we go back to John always mentions this. We're paying for the content.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Yep.
we still get advertised. This is insane. This sucks.
I mean, I've seen things as bad as TVs that have, when you change your volume, you get an ad. Like, it's crazy. It's everywhere. It's insane. I already bought the TV. I already paid for
Yeah.
Hulu. Why am I still paying for it? You know, like,
Yeah.
Yeah. So specifically though, are you guys ready for ads on Disney Plus?
I don't have
even
Disney
if there
Plus,
is,
so I don't
yeah.
care.
I have it, but the whole tier, like, is they going to do a different tier? Are they going to add in now and then I have to pay even more to get
Yeah.
rid of these ads?
For sure. For sure.
just-
I mean, I'm sure it's going to be like that. And
How much more money do these guys need?
it's just, when does it end? And that quote from the CEO makes no sense. It's like, well, it's such like boardroom, like stockholder speech of, well, we have kids, so the commercial. It's just like, it's commercials for kids.
Yeah.
The same thing you're doing on cartoons on Sunday. You know what I mean? You're just gonna blast cereal commercials rather than your, the pills that you need old people to take. I mean, that's just all the difference.
Yeah. And this would be a big pivot for them, because there's a lot that goes into, I mean, advertising just in general, but specifically for children. There's so many rules that they're going to have to figure out, because The ads that they're going to show on Disney Plus cannot be the ones that they show on FX or ESPN or whatever other Disney property that they have. Like, it's going to have to be a whole different set of advertising. And then, as he mentions in it, oh, what's going to happen? Maybe when we start looking at combining things. Yeah, what will it look like? Because if you're going to do this bundle now with Hulu, Disney Plus, ESPN, whether it's 3 different services, or if you make a big service and you put Hulu, Disney Plus, and ESPN content all in one mega streaming service, how are you going to differentiate those ads? It's going to be based on profiles. It's going to be because you can't show the same ads across all the shows.
Yeah. I just I don't know. It's just so frustrating. I'm speechless because it's so frustrating to see that the ads are, and I'm just thinking about a kid when they use, these kids are getting so used to TV and stuff that I could see them doing like a pop-up ad or click here for I don't know, whatever, mellow yellows, whatever.
Mellow
and
yellow.
They add a little.
The last time they sold mellow yellow
character.
Back when Kyle was a kid.
Yeah. Like a little character. And what's to stop a kid from just clicking on the ad? And then they're just getting advertising content. And they think that because now parents don't watch their kids, that they let the TV do the work. So then you have the kid just watching ad after ad after ad.
Oh, and
instead of the content.
Getting that info. And because we got lied to when we were kids. You see all those cereal commercials and it's like, now part of a complete breakfast. And it's like, that didn't, you thought it was supposed to be healthy, but no, it was the part of a complete breakfast, because when you add in the grapefruit and the orange juice and this thing, the sugary cereal was just a part of it. But we made it, those ads made it think like it was healthy for us.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Also, look at what happened to YouTube in the last couple of years with kids. I mean, you upload a video now, you have to manually specify, yes, this is for kids, no, this is not for kids, and they have specific ad targeting or no ads at all for kids, and comments are disabled. There's so many rules on YouTube now for what kids can see and kid profiles and all that, that broaching this subject and getting it correct is going to be a real endeavor for them.
Especially because, like, not only, we talked about the what if scenario if like the Hulu programming gets combined with the Disney Plus programming into one service, but even on Disney Plus, the amount of stuff that they have, whether it's The Mandalorian or, just whatever, like there's some, I don't know, adult type stuff. The Simpsons are on Disney Plus. That's a different type of cartoon than whatever Lilo and Stitch. Like they're different things. Like, but they're all in the same umbrella.
Mark my words. If we're still doing the podcast, in 3-4 years, and Disney Plus has come along with this advertising, there is going to be a story just like those ones where it's like, porn was played in the beginning of the animated movie. We're gonna have that with
we're
commercial.
Playing this clip back.
Yes, you can play it back.
Looking forward to it. All right. One last service to talk about. This one I think came out around the same type of time period as all these other ones. It's HBO Max. We were talking about WarnerMedia. This past weekend, Venom: Let There Be Carnage earned over $90 million at the box office domestically. That's larger than Venom's #1 opening, the first one a few years ago. And it's actually the biggest domestic opening weekend during the pandemic so far, $90 million, which leads many to think moviegoers are ready to go back possibly to the theaters after everything that's been going on the last 18 months or so. So it's like, well, should films continue the day and date approach that HBO Max has kind of pioneered this year? And that's led to Jason Kilar. That's our CEO of WarnerMedia. He surprised us all last year that all of the 2021 films for Warner Brothers will be released day and date on HBO Max. Well, now there's a Variety headline that points out that he is, quote, disappointed he will probably lose his job. Kyle, do you think it's possible after the whole day and date HBO Max 2021 situation that it's not looking good for the CEO?
I mean, it's not looking good for any CEO of a media company that has blockbusters coming out. I mean, to me, the Venom thing, I saw a tweet and it was somebody's photo of the show times at the movies. The only thing that was playing was Venom. So
Yeah.
what else are you gonna go see?
And it certainly helped that the movie was like 90 minutes long compared to like Endgame, which is like 3 hours, because it's like, well,
Yeah.
you can do double the showings because there's,
Yeah.
you don't have to do a quick turnaround of 2 hours or 3 hours. It's 90 minutes.
So, I mean, to be fair to this CEO, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that it didn't get a lot of love. I liked it as a consumer.
I love it as a consumer.
Yeah, because you can just watch it immediately. But to be fair, I mean, we're in October 5th. The pandemic is still kind of rolling around, right? And we're towards the end of 2021. So it wasn't, I don't think it had impacted that many movies. And I mean, I saw some stuff like I would have never went to the theater to watch Space Jam, but I got to see it on HBO Max, which I like, and there's still stuff that I wanted to see in theaters that I haven't seen. So I don't think, I don't know. He got a lot of backlash, but to me as a consumer, I'm fine with it. I don't know what his stockholders or whatever are thinking, but to me, I don't think that moviegoers are ready to go back necessarily. I just think it's the limited amount of whatever's at the theater itself. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, he took a chance because, as you said, there's only 3 months left to 2021.
Yeah.
And what was they're going to do with the year's worth of movies? A lot of these things, as we talked about with Peacock not too long ago, these companies are trying everything in their power to build up these services. That's where they think the future and their revenue is going to be coming from, is these streaming services. And, if you look at the subscriber growth as of just this past June, HBO Max is up over 10.7 million subscribers year to year. And that's just in the US. There's over 12 million globally. So it's like, okay, well, that's whatever it is, $14.99 a month times 10.7 million, just in new money that they're getting a month. So it's hard to say. I mean, they got some bigger ones coming up, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but yeah, it's like, what are you gonna do? It's just like, I don't know. I think we won't know until the end of the year for sure. Once we see, because they still have Dune and Matrix 4. Those are probably because if you look at the HBO Max year, a lot of these were not good. We watched a lot for the podcast. They weren't that good.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. Just looking at this list, it's like if these things come out in theaters, they're gonna bomb.
Yeah,
they're gonna bomb so bad. So it's better to be able to hide it behind HBO Max numbers. At least you can finagle that. You come out here and you have Tom and Jerry. I don't know. I think it would have bombed. I mean, some of these I just don't. I don't know.
We talked a few of these on the podcast. I mean, In the Heights, the Suicide Squad, they all underperformed.
Yeah.
This past weekend, the Many Saints of Newark it opened just number 4 at the box office with 4.6 million. I mean, again, it's like also like this is probably the best example. It's like this show or this movie is based on a TV show from 10 plus years ago that was on Sunday nights on HBO. What were you really expecting with this prequel movie to do at the box office?
Yeah, exactly.
But at the same time, they had some hits. Godzilla versus Kong is number 4 at the worldwide box office right now with $467 million. And that came out in March, day and date, during the height of because nobody was really vaccinated yet, really. And if you look at the top 10 on the US charts, Warner Brothers has at least 2 films in the top 10. So some things worked, some things didn't work. I don't know if they would have worked even just theaters only.
Yeah, for sure. And who knows if this guy being fired has anything to do with the decisions that are made. It could just be like he's the sacrificial lamb for a bad year, and it was going to be bad either way. So Maybe in
Yeah.
the future he could be like, hey, I was, the pioneer of this situation, because I think we do think that this is going this direction of entertainment in general.
I will say I do like how open and honest like he seems to be, especially with this like variety headline. It's like it's kind of refreshing to see just the honesty and the openness. It's like, yeah, that was a mistake, or that I probably screwed up there. I'm probably losing my like he's, because there's no sugarcoating it. He
Yeah.
spoke about the backlash that he received, when he announced this, and he quote, "We endeavored to do the right thing in terms of communication. In hindsight, we should have taken the better part of a month to have the 170 conversations, but instead they did it in less than a week to kind of minimize the leaks of this getting out." But it's like, yeah, I mean,
and I think, again, consumers like the idea, industry people hated it, and right, but but as far as we know, HBO Max gave the creators and stuff more money.
Yeah.
Whereas
At least
Disney
a lot of
Plus
them. Disney Plus
did not. So I don't know.
Yeah, the Warner Brothers got all the heat. Disney Plus, sure got the
Did the same
lawsuit
thing.
that at least got settled in the past week with Scarlett
Yeah,
Johansson.
but it did the same exact thing.
Yeah, same exact thing. Yeah, I think at the end of the day, I applaud it because it's like you gave the consumers a choice. Nobody said you have to see this here. You must see it at home now. It's like, no, you can see it in the theater. You can, if you want to. You can. You can also see it at home. It's your choice, and it's like, okay, choices, especially at this time with the world being as crazy as it is, I'll take it. All right, we got some shows to talk about. These shows are available only at home, and we got this first one. But before we talk about it, we have to go back. So guys, send us back.
Back in time.
We're back, baby.
Gotta get back in time.
All right, we're first talking about The Problem with Jon Stewart and the show The Problem with Jon Stewart. It's the series premiere. War. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. No, it was just called War. I'm Seinfeld. All right. September 30th on Apple TV Plus. The Daily Show host is back and hosting a current affair series where each episode focuses on a single issue, including war or freedom, just to name a few. Kyle, start me off. What do you think of The Problem with Jon Stewart?
I found it to be very similar to his old show, but with it less of the jokes. Very similar to what John Oliver has going on with his show. And watching this show, I just thought, who needs this right now? Like, is it adding anything different that's out there? Because John Oliver is essentially John Oliver doing this, and it's a little bit of what Seth Meyers does in his late night stuff,
Closer looks,
with his closer looks. So he does, I will say, the extra time allows him to go in depth with more interviews, which is good. But I think it's lacking something that the Daily Show had. And maybe it's just we have so much of this stuff now that it's lacking its luster. But to me, there's something missing about it. It doesn't have the same punch.
Yeah.
And as far as the topic that he discusses in here, a lot of what Jon Stewart talks about on his show is just the pure shock and awe of what people are going through. But my stepdad was in Iraq and Afghanistan, and this was something that I knew about. Like, I knew about it when I was 14 years old, and him coming back and be like, yeah, we have to, some of our privates have to go and stir this slur up. And I'm like, wait, what? That's a thing? So to me, it wasn't shocking. It was just yeah, these people are dealing with this, and it really, really sucks. And I know somebody that had to deal with it. So, yeah.
Yeah. I definitely see comparisons with Oliver's show and a lot of stuff going on. I'm going to go into detail on a few things, and then I'll throw it to John to hear what he thinks. But it's tough to compare these because, I mean, it's like Jon Stewart did The Daily Show. Like, that was his thing, and he kind of created this whole ecosystem of these type of shows.
Exactly.
Including his protege, John Oliver, in his weekly series, which focuses on one well-researched topic. So for him to now come back and do what he was doing, it just feels like a copy of a copy of a copy. And there's just a lot of similarities. And, it's like, okay, well, you got the joke structure that we see all the time on these, where they always say like the actual title and then a joke and then the name. So it's like, oh, we got newsman and Pert Plus model Dan Rather. It's like, you got, it's like one factual thing, one joke, the name. You got the celebrity cameo at the end of some taped piece. We got Ken Burns here. Sometimes you get some random celebrity on whatever John Oliver's doing that week. And we even get the absurd clips where we return, like you do this crazy clip and then we return to the host and it just says like, holy crap. He doesn't say that, but I complain every week when Oliver does this because it's just so formulaic. And even Stewart did it this first week. I'm like, come on, guys. Come on. It's the same tempo there. But before I go even farther into this, John, what do you think of the show?
I agree with a lot of what you guys are saying. I never really watched Jon Stewart or John Oliver or really much in the way of those or Colbert or anything like that. So I don't have that similarities to draw upon. But yeah, I kind of agree with Kyle, like what he said with like, it's an important topic, and it's definitely something that people should be fighting for to fix and all that. But as a format for a show that kind of tossed in a few jokes, but then was a very serious topic, I don't think it knows what it's trying to be. Like, obviously, you don't want to have such a heavy topic and not have any levity in it. But I couldn't grasp, was I supposed to be watching this to be entertained, to be informed, to laugh, to feel bad, like to be called to action? Like I just wasn't really sure what it was. I did think that it was strong. I didn't think it was like, it wasn't weak or the arguments were valid and the proof was shown, but I didn't feel like I knew what I was supposed to do with it.
And I'm going to go off of that because even Jon Stewart makes a joke of that in the very beginning when he makes a joke and the audience doesn't laugh. And he's like, well, I guess this will tell us how funny this show is going to be or something like that. So it's like clear they want some funny vibes in there, but from this writer's room little tosses that they do, it sounds like they got more news producers than joke writers. So I agree with John. I don't know how I'm supposed to take this. And to me, it's supposed to inform the viewer. And I'm glad that they're, again, showing that topic, but it feels like it's lacking something. It's missing something. And I don't know if it's because it's been done before or we've gotten so many other types of things doing this. Also, it just feels like, in my mind, it just feels like Jon Stewart doesn't know how, like, this is Jon Stewart's way of helping in the world because he doesn't know what else to do. Like, this is his way of giving back almost. I feel like in a way. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah. And this has always been such a big issue for John. We've seen it, the last, 10 years or so, he's gone down to DC to advocate for these veterans, and you could feel his passion in his monologues, and they feel honest. They don't feel scripted. It just like you feel the passion there. So I'll be really interested to see like episode 2 and maybe episode 3 to see what a different week will be, a different topic, like if it will be more funny or more lighthearted or it will be just as serious, because yeah, it's definitely a lot less jokey than The Daily Show ever was, or Last Week Tonight is. It's a lot more research. It's a lot more info. And it kind of goes in with like the timing a couple of different ways here. For me, we'll start off just literally, it's double the length of a Daily Show or even a Last Week Tonight, because Last Week Tonight usually does headlines. They do, whatever the week of, but we got 45 minutes of this one topic. And I will admit, I found myself zoning in and out, between the panels and the interviews, even though there was some very, very powerful stuff. There was like a statement, I believe, from Wes, who was the veteran that was on the Zoom video screen, that just completely like sucked me right back in. I was just blown away by what he was saying, but just the length of it for 45 minutes, and really to only have three really differences, to have a monologue, a panel, an interview. There wasn't a lot of back and forth or cutting. So you kind of get lost in all of that. But then also how this will come out, because I'm not 100% sure, but I believe they started taping. I don't know if these are just test shows or pieces or what, but they started taping these in July. So I'm going to guess that part of this was filmed in July, and episodes are going to be released every other week. So it's like, well, what's the material? Is it ever going to be out of date? I mean, there's weeks when Last Week Tonight, whatever, shoots, whether it's Saturday night or even, Sunday afternoon, and this stuff is already out of date by Sunday night. So it's like, is that going to happen here? Is that whatever with this topic with freedom? If they do an episode, let's say on Afghanistan or voting rights, there's stuff that's changing every single day. So I just don't know, like, are we going to get the most up-to-date research and the most up-to-date news? Yeah. If it's released bi-weekly and shot months ahead of time.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, I don't think this is bad. And I think it's very knowledgeable, and it's a very, if you don't know about the topic that he's talking about, it could be a very, very interesting thing. But I will say, there's a couple of things that don't work for me with this show. The cutbacks to the writer's room. It feels rehearsed and like a little bit, I know it's service to us, and it just feels a little forced to me. I'm like, okay, how many times did you rehearse?
Fake. It felt like it was like very scripted.
Yeah, it's like
supposed to be off the cuff.
Yeah, it's supposed to be that way, but I know that this was rehearsed, and like, how many times did it take you to do that? It didn't feel real. And then the second one was cutting to breaks that were not breaks. They were like cutting to different segments. So it's like, you either need a way to transition, or just transition and don't even have the extra words from Jon,
Yeah, because we know
sense?
Yeah, we know it's taped. We know it's live. So all you have to do is like, like John Oliver, and now this, and it just shows something. Or even while there's a package going on, he walks over, to the panel table, and then the next segment starts.
Yeah.
You don't need
because it's a streaming service. We know that, God forbid, that there's not ads, right?
TV Plus ads, yeah, maybe.
So we know that there's not ads. So just, cut to the segment and then come back in, fade out, fade in. Something simple. We don't need, I don't know if it's just an old like TV thing that he has or what, but I just think it's too old school and not with the times.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely makes me think that's like these were shot, like that panel was one day and maybe the monologue was a different day, and it's like piecemeal. And it's like, that's why it's like,
Yeah, of course. But it's just like, why even, you could just fade it to black and be, or something else, like,
Yeah. So real quick, I just want to bring up this because they're doing this for Apple TV Plus. But I know Kyle and I definitely remember Jon Stewart signed an HBO deal.
Yeah.
Months after leaving The Daily Show in November of 2015, he signed a 4-year deal with HBO that would include exclusive content including for the streaming services HBO Now and HBO Go. That just shows how old this is.
Mm-hmm.
There was supposed to be like a short form animated project that was going to be kind of like more like real time, like, really quick turnaround with the news that was supposed to be 2016. Then it got pushed to 2017. Then it was canceled in May of 2017. Then there was stand-up specials that were announced that I looked right before we went on the podcast. I cannot find on HBO Max, so I don't know if they ever came out.
Yeah, no.
Maybe he gave it to Conan.
Yeah, maybe. But what happened? Like, how we see this all the time with like Netflix and like Ryan Murphy and these people getting all these deals, and then they get paid these crazy amounts of money. And then do they have to give any of this money back?
Yeah,
they don't do anything. Like for 4 years, he produced like nothing for HBO. Does he get to keep that 4 years of salary?
Yeah, and yeah, I don't know how this works. Did he produce a bunch of stuff and then HBO executives nixed it? Because if so, then I mean he did adhere to his production deal and he produced something for them, but then they didn't. But to me, it's just wild, because when he signed that deal, it was like kind of a big deal. It was like it's going to be his comeback. It was going to be like the thing that brought him back. So to not have anything for a while and then to see he's on Apple TV is just really, really weird. And also, I know that he was working on like the animated thing was like definitely in the works, and there was casting stuff and people were reaching out. So it's just weird that this didn't like manifest or did he, I don't know if it was like some animosity between them or maybe they were just
it's just wild to like for 4 years not have anything, and then like immediately when that thing is over, not like why didn't he do this for HBO? Did HBO say like, oh, the problem with Jon Stewart, that's too close to John Oliver, we don't want that? I would be surprised, because even though John Oliver is doing great for HBO, I mean they still have, Bill Maher does a panel show on Friday nights. We couldn't get Jon Stewart on Saturday nights or something. It's just like you would think they would want to be in the Jon Stewart business. They signed a 4-year deal with him. We'll take whatever you got. But to not get anything over those 4 years and then immediately go to Apple TV Plus and then do something immediately with them, it's like, okay, it's weird.
Yeah, it just seems really, really strange to me. And like you said, I don't know how this happens. And it happens all the time where people sign these mega big deals and nothing comes out of it. And it's like, how does this happen? How does this happen?
I don't know. I have no idea, but I have another question. How did this happen? And how did Squid Game become the biggest thing in the world? Like, we're talking about Squid Game, the series premiere, red light, green light. It dropped on Netflix September 17th. This South Korean survival drama centers on a contest where 456 players, all deeply in debt, play a set of children's games with deadly consequences in hopes of winning the grand prize. So yeah, this series is in Korean, and we're a couple weeks late to this, but we had to discuss it. It is on track right now to become the biggest show in Netflix's history in any language.
Wow.
It's so big, in fact, that in South Korea, Netflix is currently being sued because of the internet usage and the surge of people watching. This thing is big. I mean, it's crossed over. It's global. It's a big deal. So we had to check out the premiere. John, what did you think of the premiere of Squid Game?
Oh, where do I start? I really like Squid Game. I'm 3 episodes away from finishing the season so far, so I've watched a fair bit.
Stick to the first episode.
I'm gonna try as hard as I can. Yeah, I don't want to spoil it, because that's the stuff that makes the show gold. It is weird. There's some weird stuff happening. We're gonna spoil the first episode, I'm assuming, right? We're gonna talk about it. Okay. They're in this game show. It's a children's game, and there's this whole behind the scenes thing happening. It's not just the characters who are playing the game. There's a whole nother thing. It it's been really interesting. I'm trying to like make form sentences here. I am really enjoying it. I think that the characters are all really dynamic, and I think that watching it in the original language shows that. I didn't watch it with the English vocal dubs. I watched it with subtitles, but I think that it really shows that you can really feel what they're saying and how they're saying it through that, which I think is great. And there are so many twists and turns. You gotta watch it. That's that's all I got.
Yeah, I will say I watched the pilot last night. It was a really good episode. I feel like the world feels fully fleshed out. The characters are set up really well. This whole mystery element, we're going along like, what is this? How do we get there? We see our main character struggling and gambling on anything he can. On the crane game. You really like you get everything set up and why you're going into this world, and then you figure out what the world is, and like, it's just the production design, the set. They're walking into like this first game, and it's like a colorful labyrinth of this maze, and at points I was like, is this CGI? Is this an intricate set? Like, I couldn't tell. It looks so 3-dimensional, 4-dimensional. It just looks really well made, and I'm really into it. I got a lot of questions. I'll get into them in a minute, but Kyle, what did you think of Squid Game?
Really interesting premise. I will say that it's really, really interesting. Yeah, I was into it from the start to finish. I think it's really, really cool. The parallels between, what the characters are going through, and life, and debt, and people in power, and these struggles of power, and what people are willing to give up, and addiction, and all these themes are kind of running together, that it really is. I think it is so popular because, I mean, granted, we've all played those silly child games before, right? But
Stakes
then
are a little different.
Yeah, you add in the stakes, and then add in all these themes about power and control and all those things, and it makes it for an interesting dynamic. And I think that's why it's so popular, because clearly those things cross,
they're universal.
Country lines, you know what I mean? So it's something that we're all struggling with, and so it's really, really good. I'm into it. I'm
definitely gonna be watching more. I got some things to think about. These are just some thoughts I had. Maybe I missed something here or there, but some of these questions I have, just to bring up. So we get one of these characters that was a pickpocketer. She's number 67 in the game. Our main character is 465, which makes me think, like, did she play before? Like, can you like play around and then leave the world and then come back in? Because there's also this old guy with number 1 on his uniform. Has he played multiple times and comes back in and out of the world? I don't know. There's this leader, big boss kind of guy who's watching it all. I watched it also in the Korean language. So but I found it interesting that this character was speaking in English, at least in my version. So it's like, why is this one character specifically speaking in English? And like, is he the only one that this game is for? Is it a reality show? Is it the Hunger Games, channel at home? And then there's this random guy that we see at the end of the episode that saves our main character. And it's like, well, why? Like, why did he risk everything for him? Like, who's this going to be? Because it was a life and death situation, and he, stepped up. We'll have to see with that. So I have a lot of, I'm intrigued by everything. I want to know those answers. John, you seem like
what's good. And I won't spoil it for you. Those all get answered.
Okay,
you'll find out. You'll find out a lot of stuff. So definitely keep watching.
Okay.
The thing to me, and I just go into like how if because clearly we see at the end they're on some kind of deserted island, right?
Yeah.
And what it brings to my mind is that short story of the most dangerous game, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I was thinking of. But like with all of the moving parts and pieces, it's like how is this a secret? You know what I mean? How do they get them there to this island?
500 plus contestants.
Yeah.
And how many crew members?
Members, and you know, it could be some like Illuminati thing, but then it gets into like this outlandish thing, you know, which it is kind of outlandish, but I want some degree of like hopefully they answer that question, like, you know, how does this guy have this ability to control all of these factors?
There's a lot more questions that you end up wanting to know, but a lot of that stuff gets fleshed out and explored, and without, like, again, I don't want to spoil it for you guys because it's something that I want you guys to experience, but I would totally love to see more of how this came together, because they kind of go into some of the history of this.
Well, Netflix will make a prequel series. Wait.
I'm hoping so. I honestly and genuinely am hoping so. If they can do it at the same production quality, I think that it would be great. And I think that what they have set up is the perfect basis to both approach where they are and potentially where they're going, depending on how the season ends.
So something else that I thought of when I saw actually just the picture of the workers is that some have circles and some have squares. Is that going to impact how
what they kind of show you in the first episode is that there's a little bit of a hierarchy. So it's like circles, triangles, squares, and then the guy in the black mask, I believe, is the hierarchy. So it kind of gets explored a bit more, but they do sort of lay that fundamental down with how the shaped masks guys are interacting with each other in that episode. But that gets fleshed out as well.
It is interesting, and I think for you, Dave, it's almost the behind the scenes I'm going to see, because we haven't gotten to that part, but we know that that's going to have a huge impact on the game too, which is almost like a reality show in and of itself, right? Because it's more behind the scenes than just what you're seeing in front during the gameplay. So I think that's something from the reality show world that I think that you probably liked as well.
The first episode sets up really well the characters playing in the show, but from there forward it starts to be a lot more about this entire thing, not just the people playing. So you get a lot more
world
of
is expanded.
Yes, which I think was a really good choice and works really well and is really interesting.
All right. So I know how John and I have watched. Kyle, did you also watch with subtitles, or did you watch the English dub?
I watched with subtitles. Well, initially Netflix defaulted with the English subtitles and the English dub, and that was too confusing because they weren't matching. And I was like, I'd rather hear just how they sound in Korean with the English subtitles. But I know I sent something to you about how, and I think this is important, is that the translation isn't exact, and could be missing crucial details in the character, and also, you know, Korean thinking and the way Koreans think, and what the writer's trying to convey based on what was actually said versus what the dialogue or the subtitles are saying. Yeah,
there was a fluent Korean speaker that was on TikTok, and she raised the issue that the English subtitles are so bad that the original meaning is kind of lost in translation. There's a subtitle that will say, "I'm not a genius, but I still got it worked out." But what the character is actually saying is, "I am very smart. I just never got a chance to study." So there's different meanings right there, and the things are being lost. I will say I did a little bit more research on this. I think the initial comments that she had were based on closed captioning, which is like sometimes automatically generated, and it's a little different from the English subtitles that they also have, because there's a lot of options on Netflix. You could really get lost in all the different options that they have. but the English subtitles are a little different, and the user has said that they're substantially better.
All right.
So yeah, I think if you can, I think the English subtitles that are the better ones than the closed captioning subtitles in this instance. But one thing that
I was going to say, even on top of that, just culturally, there's a lot of stuff that you don't necessarily get. You know, I know that sometimes when people are dubbing like anime and stuff, they'll have editor's notes as far as explaining like cultural impacts of stuff. So what sounds like a throwaway sentence actually could have a completely different meaning and be really, really strong, you know? So that kind of thing too is unfortunately lost without knowing a bit more about the culture.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to see if like anything ends up changing with all this news coverage that they're getting. One thing that we know will change is a detail on the business card that our main character receives, because a man in South Korea has received thousands of calls a day after his number was shown on the business card that the main character receives outside the subway station. So they're going to change it up. The 8675309 Jenny situation all over again here.
Oh no, that poor guy, man.
This is why they have 555 numbers, or you know, whatever they have in different countries. Like,
oh no.
But yeah, I think it's also probably something with like I don't know the situation like globally. Like I know we have that in the US, but like do they have a system? But then when it becomes a hit globally, does it work everywhere? I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. It sounds like we're all into Squid Game, so I think we're all going to keep with it and keep going along this ride.
Yep.
Yeah, so yeah, all right. Well, maybe we'll check in once we all finish it in a little bit.
Next week. All right.
I don't know. We have a little bit of time though to squeeze in a few more quick reviews. We gotta be quick this tonight. But John, what would this segment be called?
Quick check.
Yes, it is a quick check. I'm gonna stay on Netflix and I'm gonna stay on reality TV. And I'm gonna talk about The Circle season 3 as my quick check. It pretty much all dropped in September of 2021. The finale was just last Wednesday. It's the 3rd season of the US version of this show. It's where players compete against each other in a Big Brother-like situation, but they actually never meet face to face. Instead, they communicate through an app and are able to portray themselves any way they choose. So this is a real show. This isn't a narrative like Squid Game. This is real people in this game. And I will say, pros and cons. I didn't love the cast compared to the previous 2 seasons. The other 2 seasons were like home runs. There's still a lot of fun people in this cast, but I will say with this season, there was a lot more strategy this time around, I feel like, than maybe previous seasons, which makes the winner this time around maybe, while very deserving, while a lot of fun, a bit, because all season they vote every week, pretty much who's the most popular. They rank each other. And then the top person, whoever that is, maybe usually the top 2, then can decide who's eliminated. So they could say, oh, do we want to do it from our team, our alliance, or do we just get the person that's least liked out of the house, whatever. But then the final round, you're voting on the winner. So it's like, well, I know this person's really popular, so I'm going to put them down. So you start being a little strategic in the very last ranking, which kind of like makes it so, well, maybe if you're like a middle person, not hated, maybe not number 1, but not hated, you win. So it's like, oh, I don't know if that's, I like who the winner was this time, but I didn't know if that was, we might have to tweak the final voting. But I do want to run through 2 of the twists that I found I really liked this season, because I think it's some of the best twists so far. There was an identity theft twist where one eliminated player came back and got to choose to be another player that's already in the circle. And if that person could convince others that they are the real one, that person stayed in. That's what happened here. So poor Michelle was picked. This other person pretended to be Michelle, and the real Michelle left because they thought the fake Michelle was the real Michelle.
Oh no.
So I felt a little bad, but it's just funny. And then there's this other one where a player that was ranked popular got a burner profile, but they didn't know that this was not a new person. They thought it was a brand new person
Oh,
when really it was the
no.
same person. So Nick was actually Vince, and he was playing as two characters at points. And there would be a time when one player had a group chat with Nick and Vince. Meanwhile, it was the same person. It was like chatting back and forth. So like I put up the thing here, and like just, you got Nick and Vince as the same player. Ashley, Isabella, Jackson, they're actually catfish. They're not who they say they are. So it's just like this wild web of deceit and games, and it's just a lot of fun. But
yeah, it seems cool. I feel like they're pumping these out. I feel
yeah,
like
they did 2 this year.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. It was a lot though with Survivor and Big Brother all on Wednesdays, but thankfully things are calming down on that. But Kyle, you have a season 3 show as well. What are you talking about?
I'm talking about What We Do in the Shadows. I think we're on through episode 6. I just finished watching the most recent episode. It's still just as good. It's still just as funny as it's always been. And I really do feel like even now, even if you're not like totally familiar with the show, you could hop into an episode and really enjoy it. And in fact, my girlfriend did. She hopped into a couple episodes and she was really enjoying it. And I think that's the genius of the show and their ability to kind of explain this vampire world and then put them in outlandish situations. It makes it a really, really, really good show. And I'm just going to share, and I highly recommend it. If you don't watch it, it's not necessarily anybody recognizable from the cast, but they are all really, really good. Yeah. And it's really worth watching it. 2 jokes that I love from this year so far is when there's a fight between the werewolves and the vampires. And if you're familiar with the original Twilight, Guillermo says that, well, there's only one way to fix this. And then it immediately cuts to the Muse song from the kickball scene in Twilight. And they're like, dun, dun, dun. It's so stupid, but it's so funny. Oh my God. And then the next one is when they, I think it's Matt Berry's characters talking about, they're about to make a big trip to a land of debauchery and all this hedonistic behavior. And you think he's going to say Las Vegas, and he's like, Atlantic City. and
then I think he sings the theme song that the jingle for Las Vegas, but in the tune of Atlantic City.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's so funny. Yeah. So those are my favorite jokes so far from this year. I highly recommend it. It's such a good show.
Yeah. For me, it's like sometimes the stuff with like when it gets into the lore of werewolves and vampires, it loses me a little bit, but I love like all the like when it's like they're in the real world or they're just dealing with like roommate issues or like just
my guy pillow or whatever.
Yeah, it's like office like situations, but
yeah.
All right. Matt Berry reminds me of John for some reason. I don't know if it's the look.
He does, because they're also right next to each other on my screens.
I can't tell which is which. But John, what are you watching or playing?
I am replaying Red Dead Redemption 2. I played this on launch several years ago on the Xbox One, but I am revisiting it on PC. They have re-released it. They're using the latest DLSS, which is AI upscaling to help make it look nicer. And that's nice because they made it really heavy. There's a lot more options on PC than there were on the Xboxes. So, but the trade-off with that is it looks beautiful, and I'm really glad to be replaying it. Rockstar really takes a lot of care in their games and makes a lot of subtle things that are easy to miss, which means that replaying it for me hasn't been a chore. And I'm trying to replay it as more of a low honor person than a high honor person. So that really kind of changes the dynamic, and your character goes from, a guy who will be going around saying, hey, howdy, blah, 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 to get out of my way, while you're just walking down the street, and it's completely changes the tone of the game, and it's been a blast. The other thing what's nice about doing it on PC is mods. So there are a bunch of mods that I'm using for quality of life and like lore friendly things, like upscaling the way the weapons look, making them look more realistic, changing the way the combat feels so that, if you shoot someone, maybe they'll roll on the ground and bleed out instead of, keep shooting you with their last health, or you shoot them in the hand, their gun flies out instead of them just like recoiling. Tons of stuff like that. So it's been a blast. And back on the original Xbox, there were a couple glitches to get out of bounds and go explore some areas you can kind of only get to once or twice in the game. What's nice about PC is there's a mod that just lets you do it. So I've been having a lot of fun exploring. If you've played the original Red Dead, which is a great game as well, they kind of took that and built this newer map off of that. So there are some out-of-bounds areas, mainly Mexico itself, that you can kind of go explore, and the general geometry and some buildings are there, even though you can never get to it in games. There's a lot of really cool stuff, and there's a lot of people who are working on bringing that content back because they can mod the game and all that, which I haven't delved into that, but I'm really enjoying my replay through, and it's one of those games that I think every few years I can return to and really have a lot of fun with, and just the dynamic feel of the world. You could be walking down a path and someone off in the woods will be yelling for help because they broke their ankle, and maybe they need help getting back to town, but maybe it's also them setting you up to get ambushed, and all of a sudden you've got 30 guys around you and you're like, oh shoot. So there's a lot of interesting stuff that happens, and a lot of mysteries, and a lot of stuff to find, and I am really enjoying replaying it.
It's really good, and Rockstar does a good job with the dialogue and meshing it all up, because I played it for PS5, and I think it's like heads above like a game like Ghosts of Tsushima, where it's like the dialogue is horrible, it doesn't match up, it's like, this is trash. I mean, the fighting is fine, but whereas Red Dead, it's like, dude, this is like clearly you guys took the time to really get the dialogue, and it doesn't sound cheesy, and it does have all those dynamics to it. So
that, and there's just so much of it. I mean, I think every time I go back to camp, I spend 15 minutes just walking around, because everybody in the camp is having conversations, and it all relates to what's going on in the story. So if you had just robbed a bank, there might be 3 or 4 people having a conversation without you, just off to the side, about that bank robbery and what went wrong or what went right, and how much your take was, and where that money's going to, and depending on how much money you're putting back into the camp, maybe they get better weapons and stuff like that. And it's this whole, is this whole big like action and consequence for everything, which is great. It's really in depth, and it really makes your other playthroughs feel significantly different, even though it's minor things. I mean, down to things where one mission you might have a blue ascot or a red ascot, depending on if you have high or low honor. Small things like that you don't notice, but it's just environmental building that affects the whole tone. So it's really nice.
Yeah.
I picked up some of those words. I'm not a computer gamer guy, so I'm like, oh, mods and this. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, cool. No, it sounds fun. It looks good, just with the images that we have going on. One of these days, John, you can get me into the gaming world.
Yeah,
That'll
man.
be your project.
All right, sounds good.
But next week, no games. We're talking about an Apple TV Plus series for the 3rd week in a row. Ted Lasso. Season 2 is going to be over. We'll talk about the finale, and then we may get a little nostalgic here. Childhood favorite returns. Legends of the Hidden Temple. We might check out a little game show next week and see how they rebooted it for the new age. But that's not all. John, you're doing something else this week, and you're staying busy. What do you got going on?
I am. It's actually not this week. It's the 18th.
On 18th.
Monday the 18th. I will be doing a stream, the Gamers Outreach Spooktacular Streamathon, where I will be streaming for charity. They try and help bring video games to children in hospitals who obviously are in the hospital for some amount of time, to help lift their spirits and give them something to do and to help them out. So it should be good. We're going to be doing some VR golf again. So if you missed it last time, the last charity I did, here's another chance. Monday, October 18th at 7 p.m., I believe.
And how can they find that again?
Twitch.tv/Gearomatic is where I'll be streaming it.
All right, sounds good. And If you want to find more Dual Redundancy, our links are, of course, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the blog, dualredundancy.com. And we're live Tuesday nights on Twitch, twitch.tv/Dual Redundancy, 8 p.m. Tuesday nights. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Dual Redundancy. And I got to thank both you guys for joining me tonight, watching all the stuff that we watch. I couldn't do it without you guys, and for John directing and putting the show up on Apple Podcasts.
Sure.
Awesome. Well, that's it. Until next time, I'm David Allen.
I'm John Berwick.
And I'm Kyle Bridger.
And that's all we got for Dual Redundancy. Goodbye, everybody.